Do you see the Nancy Pelosi thing? She's worth an estimated $400 million now.
How? What's the salary?
All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off right at the start, because once you see this, you can't unsee it. Nancy Pelosi, a lifelong public servant on a government salary, is somehow sitting on an estimated $400 million fortune. Let that sink in for a second. $400 million on a salary that tops out around $170,000 a year. Does that math work in any universe you and I live in? Exactly. And today we're breaking down how this whole thing is starting to fall apart, why the excuses are getting thinner by the day, and why people across the political spectrum are finally saying, yeah, no way. Before we dive in real quick, if you believe truth isn't partisan, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment. It helps the channel more than you know, and it keeps these conversations going. All right, let's get into it. So here's where this story really kicks off. Nancy Pelosi sits down for a CNN interview. Supposedly, she's there to talk about the anniversary of Medicaid. You know, very noble, very serious, very let's not talk about my stock portfolio.
Here, let's watch this because it's so funny.
Let me just read what he said. I'm sorry that we had some sort of technical issue. Nancy Pelosi became rich.
Why do you have to read that? We're here to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid. That's what I agreed to come to talk about.
Yeah, but I wanted
what that means in the election.
I wanted to give you a chance just to respond. He accused you of insider trading. What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the trading of members of Congress. Not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong. If they are prosecuted and they go to jail. But because of the confidence it instills in the American people, don't worry about this. But I have no concern about the obvious investments that had been made over time. I'm not into it, my husband is, but it isn't anything to do with anything insider.
Then comes the real kicker. She says she has nothing to do with the trades. None, zero, zilch. It's all her husband. He handles the investments. No insider info, no funny business, just good old-fashioned financial genius. Right, because apparently Mr. Pelosi is some kind of Wall Street wizard, an oracle, a fortune teller, a once-in-a-generation investor who just happens to perfectly time massive trades right before government actions that move entire markets. What are the odds? Let's talk numbers for a second, because this is where it stops being suspicious and starts being flat out insulting to people who actually work for their money. According to financial disclosures and reporting from outlets like Yahoo Finance and Investopedia, the Pelosi's are worth north of $400 million. Over Pelosi's career in Congress, their returns are estimated at nearly 17,000%. 17,000%. For context, the Dow Jones over that same period did about 2,300%, which is already considered great, but Pelosi's returns absolutely obliterate that. We're not talking about pretty good, we're talking about results that outperform basically everyone. And here's the thing, professional hedge fund managers with teams of analysts, supercomputers, and insider level industry access don't pull numbers like that consistently, but somehow a congresswoman's household does.
She's worth an estimated $400 million now.
How? What's the salary? 70,000 a year?
170 grand a year, something like that. 200 grand a year, maybe. You know, but watching the panic in her face, realizing that Trump is now president, and they're talking about literally going after her for insider trading, and the undeniable evidence that they have had better results on the stock market than literally anyone ever.
Yeah.
And they have access to information about laws that are going to be passed.
Yeah.
If that's not insider trading, what the is?
And that's what I mean. The greed, the level of greed is so strong that you got
that video?
She might even had good intentions getting into office.
Shut the
or anybody.
Shut your mouth.
I feel like it's a
They're all
system
demons
that corrupts.
Yes.
The minute you get in.
I think so. I think if you want to succeed, like what happens, maybe you have these idealistic perspectives on how politics works or what you can do in your contribution.
Microsoft stock dumped shortly before the FTC launches an investigation. Visa stock sold not long before the DOJ files a lawsuit. Call options on cybersecurity companies. bought right around the same time. Lawmakers were briefed on a serious national security threat involving Russia. What are we supposed to believe here? That these are just cosmic coincidences? That the Pelosi's are clairvoyant? That they can feel regulatory pressure in their bones? At some point, coincidence stops being a defense and starts sounding like comedy. And before anyone tries to turn this into a red versus blue thing, let's be clear, this is not just Nancy Pelosi. She's just the most obvious, most polished, most high-profile example. This happens on both sides of the aisle. Democrats, Republicans, career politicians across the board. There's a reason Joe Rogan called it a uniparty, because when it comes to money, power, and insider access, suddenly the partisan fighting disappears.
There's a reason why that whole ability to trade stocks is still in position, and it's because they want it there. They make a ton of money. The general
they have
public,
all the insider information.
so they have to figure out at what point in time is this too dangerous, and who's willing to like make this a law, who's willing to change this, and what politicians are going to sign on board for that, because they're actually voting against their own self-interests.
Yeah.
Right. If they all decide, like, it's like they're playing chicken. Like, as long as they don't do it, as long as they don't do it, then they can still make a ton of money. But if you look at the numbers, like if you look at like who's making money on the stock market, it is not all Nancy Pelosi. It is red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. It's pretty much down the middle. And you're hanging out with Harry, the senator from in South Dakota or whatever, and Harry's got a yacht. I'm like, how'd you get a yacht, Harry? Yeah. Like, you know, Bobby's got his own private jet. How'd you get your own jet, Bob? You're a congressman. Like, what are you doing?
Remember 2008? While the American public was being told everything was fine, a Republican congressman who chaired the House Financial Services Committee attended a private meeting with the Treasury Secretary and the Federal Reserve Chair. The very next day, he placed trades betting the market would collapse. And guess what? It did. Right before COVID became public knowledge, lawmakers quietly dumped restaurant, hotel, and travel stocks. At the same time, they poured money into remote work tech, telemedicine, ventilator manufacturers, and hand sanitizer companies. You and I were worried about toilet paper. They were reallocating portfolios, and that's the real problem here. It's not just about Pelosi, it's about access, information, timing. Lawmakers get briefings that can move billions of dollars. They know when regulations are coming, when investigations are launching, when funding is about to pour into certain industries.
Depressed mode too. We can try that.
What's that? Depressed mode? No, don't do it.
I think there is. Yeah, we've got like we've got unlicensed therapist as a.
When we were talking, when we ran into each other at the church at the inauguration, you were telling me that this is getting better and better so quickly that it's astonishing.
Hey, Ara.
Hey, Alon. How's it going today?
Good. Can you tell me about Avatar depression? Like if you see the movie Avatar, but you can't live there, so you get sad?
That's an interesting concept. Have you ever experienced feeling so connected to a place or a community that the thought of leaving made you feel deeply sad?
So is this the depressed voice?
This is the therapist.
Oh, this is the therapist.
What are some ways you think you could cope with that kind of sadness if it happened to you?
I don't have that kind of sadness. Honestly, I thought the movie had some good special effects, but I did not want to live on the planet.
And this is coming from a guy who wants to go to Mars.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Mars, what do you think about that crazy square? That structure.
I guess they're also square.
You can only tell someone don't worry about it so many times before they start worrying about it. And let's be honest, if any regular person did this, they'd be in handcuffs. If you worked at a company and traded stock based on non-public information, you'd be fired and prosecuted, no question. But if you're in Congress, different rules, different game. That's why this issue cuts across party lines, because whether you're left, right, or somewhere in the middle, most people can agree on one thing. Lawmakers shouldn't be getting rich off the laws they write. That's not radical, that's common sense. And the fact that it hasn't been fixed tells you everything you need to know. So when Pelosi says, "My husband does the trading," it's not a defense. It's an admission that the system is broken. Because even if that were true, it doesn't change the core issue. The information still flows through the same household. The incentives are still there. The results are still absurd. A $170,000 salary does not turn into $400 million without something else going on, period. At some point, people stop asking, is this legal, and start asking, is this right? And judging by the reaction to that interview, we're already there. But I want to hear from you. Do you think this is insider trading? Do you think Congress should be banned from trading stocks entirely? Or do you think we're all just supposed to believe in miracles and move on? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you think this conversation matters. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this. And as always, keep thinking.